Well, it's Dr. Gina Loudon standing in today for our good friend Brian Fisher. Hopefully he'll be right back on with you tomorrow. Happy to be here on Focal Point with you. You're one of my favorite audiences, you know. Yeah, I'm flirting. But that's okay because I'm pretty sure that my husband is watching as well. I want to make sure you know, after just having Jill Tamarisi on the show, she asked us to make sure that within the next 2 days we get the absolutely paramountly important 25,000 additional signatures we need on this petition. So I linked it on my page, drginashow.com, drginashow.com. You can go there. Please do. I am begging you. 25,000 more signatures we need for that petition. drginashow.com. It's right there. We make it easy for you. And I myself am going to be posting it on all of my social media outlets and the things I write. And it's on my Facebook site as well, Dr. Gina Loudon, and my Dr. Gina site as well. Please go there and sign the petition. I've put it up every way I know how without just handing it to you to sign right here on the show. Please do that, and please use all of your outlets and creativity. Get your friends to sign it. Get your family to sign it. That goes a no-brainer, right? And let's make this happen. 25,000 signatures needed in 2 days. We can do this, my friends. You can do this. You heard her desperate pleas from her mother's heart. Make it happen for her if you would do that. One of the people who has joined me in this effort, and I'm very proud to stand with her, also happens to be one of the people who has sat across from me and debated me on Fox News many times. She is a Fox News contributor and a pardon attorney, and I'm proud to call her also my friend. That is Tamara Holder. Welcome to Focal Point.
Hi, Tina. Thanks for having me. I like that you're filling in.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. This is a really fun audience. But one of the things that I want people to know right away, I'm sure they're scratching their heads saying, Tamara Holder, Gina Loudon, those two names don't go together. Because I am a known conservative. You are very well known. Is it okay to call you a liberal?
You can call me whatever you want. I mean, to call me a liberal is probably a really nice thing to be called these days because I've been called worse. Just like people on the other side of the aisle. You know, I do have ex-boyfriends who think worse of me. So, you know, I'm a liberal, a progressive, a Democrat. That doesn't mean, as you know, that I am a fan of our current president, Barack Obama. But, you know, I do have a lot of Democratic and liberal values.
Well, I have to say, you're more independent thinking than many that I've encountered, at least in my social media world. You tend to not just go lockstep with what your side says, which I don't either. You won't hear anybody criticize. You will not hear anyone criticize Karl Rove more than I criticize Karl Rove. And I was happy to criticize George Bush as well. And I'm happy to say today that I think Karl Rove is the architect of the Obama administration. And that's not a compliment coming from me. And so I think that it is important for us to have a little discernment. I think radio audiences in particular have a lot of that discernment. They're thinking people. They're integrating these ideas. They want to hear long thought rather than just short, encapsulated thought that you and I are used to in television. But tell me what it is that makes somebody like you decide to join forces with somebody like me for a situation like our jailed Marine over in Mexico, Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi.
Well, I think it's at the end of the day that we're both Americans and we both have the same American values that have to do with reasonableness and protecting our soldiers and our American heroes. As you know, and you were so kind to link to my article, I wrote an op-ed for FoxNews.com last week, and, you know, I talked about how Sergeant Tamarisi, he made a mistake. He violated the law if you're looking at the four corners of the law. He did. He entered Mexico with weapons. That is illegal. But we should be reasonable. And Mexico, they are our neighbors. They are our neighbors. You don't want to fight with your next-door neighbor. You need them to borrow sugar from and eggs from and watch your kids if you have to run down the street. There's no reason why we should have these terrible relationships with Mexico and their different parts of their government.
Some people in this listening audience and some people on Facebook and Twitter have said, but look, and we even had a speaker yesterday at our rally, which you were very supportive of and we appreciate. One of the speakers said, look, I have a job where I catch and release Mexicans all the time and make sure they get back across the border safely. Uh, why didn't they do that with Andrew Tamarisi? Why didn't the Mexican government give our Marine that courtesy?
Well, with all due respect, and this is where we can fight, but with all due respect, I don't think it should be a tit for tat type of argument. We do it for their guys, they should do it for ours. But at the same time, going back to my reasonableness argument, I think that it has more to do with political reasons. I have an op-ed coming out today or tomorrow about the fact that Mexico is probably very mad at us. I'm sure your listeners are very well aware of Fast and Furious. We executed Fast and Furious by trafficking guns into Mexico without Mexico's knowledge or permission. They're upset. Those guns, thousands of guns, are still on the streets in the hands of violent people and potentially killing innocent Mexicans. They have a reason for that. Also, they, at the same time that they got arrested, they were Texas, Mexican national who was on deck. People are, pro-death penalty. I get that. But Mexico is not. They believe that the death sentence, the death penalty, is cruel and unusual punishment. And when we executed that Mexican national, they were upset. So they have reasons to feel that, if we're going to do what we want to do, they're going to do what they want to do.
Well, so the thing that we agree on is that the process needs to be expedited. We both also agree that the petition needs to be signed, petitioning our government to do something about this as well. 25,000 signatures needed. I have it posted at drginashow.com. Tamara, what else can we do? I mean, you're writing, I'm writing like crazy about this. I've lost count of how many articles I've written about this. But what else can we do to try to make this right? Do you think that the inflammatory nature of the language against the Mexican government for this is part of the problem?
No. I'll tell you why. The judge and the prosecutors, they don't care what we're writing, that we're marching, that we're on TV or on the radio talking about it. That is not going to affect what they do. However, the reason why our voices are so important is so that we let our officials know, whether or not you like Obama, whether or not you like John Kerry, the more pressure we put on them that we are not going away silently, that we're not just going to walk away from this and let Andrew rot in jail, it puts pressure on them. And that is our goal here. Our goal is to put pressure on our diplomats and our spokespeople for American freedom.
Have you met John Kerry or Barack Obama face to face?
I have met Barack Obama several times, yes, not John Kerry.
Okay, and so I mean, when you meet him, what do you think? I mean, what's he like as a person, one-on-one? I remember, for example, George Bush, and I remember thinking, I wish everyone could talk to him the way I've talked to him, because he's funny, first of all, which didn't really ever seem to come across in the media. He's very intimate with people, as far as, I mean that in a good way, like, he'll kiss you on the cheek, put his arm around, just a warm kind of a spirit. I never got any of that from his presidential persona. What don't we know about Barack Obama in person?
That he's a fraud? No, I'm kidding. I don't like him.
I was going to clap for you right there.
The times that I met him, because I met Bill Clinton before I met Barack Obama, when he had announced his candidacy, and Bill Clinton, like George Bush, that experience, that intimacy, he was just charismatic, and I felt like I was the only one in the room, and that he was interested in my name and what I did. And with Obama, I didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling. I think that he's very good at conniving the right people. I've worked in the inner city in Chicago, the people that he said he worked with, and they didn't know who he was before he started running. And I think that they relied on him to do things that he hasn't done. Look at how much the inner city still continues to hurt. So I can't defend Obama in that regard. I'm not a fan.
Who has the Democrat Party gone so far to the left that it has abandoned its base, or do you think it's more in touch with its base now than ever?
I think that it's the same problem that the right has. There are too many people on the fringe that are ruining the message of the party. There are reasonable people on the right and a lot of reasonable people on the left. And then you have people like Sandra Fluck, whose message in the campaign didn't represent a regular American woman like myself or like you. I think that I met Senator Jim Webb last week. He is a moderate Democrat. I like him. I think that the people like him are what we need right now. The people that are on the far left and far right are just damaging everybody.
Shifting now to the murders in Santa Barbara that happened over the past week. One of the fathers is calling for more gun control concerning people who have mental health issues. Now, the new DSM-5, this is my background, actually could label about 50% of the American population these days with a mental illness. Additionally, 90% of our troops who come back from any sort of combat endure post-traumatic stress disorder like Sergeant Tamarisi, and that also is classifiable as a mental health disorder. Tamara, should people who have mental illnesses not be able to have guns if they've ever been labeled? One other fact is that only about 4% of the crimes ever committed are done by people with a diagnosed mental illness. So what is the answer here?
Well, this goes back to my, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, Gina, but this goes back to my reasonableness argument. I do not think because one madman, whether it's in Tucson, Arizona, or in a movie theater in Colorado, or on the streets of California, should be the message for any anti-gun people or the poster children for them. One of the statistics about the people who have committed crimes, only 4% are diagnosed as mentally ill. The problem with that statistic is that we have a diagnosis problem in this country. Too many people aren't being treated. I'm not saying that they're going to be violent. Most people with mental illnesses are not violent.
Well, most of the treatments, Tamara, actually aren't even necessarily answers. You know, people are on antidepressants that have never even been diagnosed with depression. So it's a crazy mixed up world out there. We definitely need to do more searching on this. Tamara, thank you so much for being with us. I wish we had more time with you, but I always enjoy having you and really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you, Gina.
All right. All the best to you. You can find her on Twitter at Tamara Holder, and you can find her all the time on Fox News. Coming up, we're going to go to your calls, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. What are the answers in all of this? We're going to talk it out right after this on Focus.